Hey everyone, welcome to Angry Asian Artist. Now, I put my YouTube channel on hiatus for almost a year because I started to get a lot of client work, and I figured there has to be another way of helping the community without having to deal with video editing, which is, as many might know from watching my videos, not really my forte. So I figured a podcast styled type of audio would be great for artists in my social media and such, um, and as well as fans who might not be artists. Now, I will admit I am not a conversationalist at all. I'm not very social, uh, and I'm hoping that this type of thing will help you as well as help me um, be a bit better at talking. Um, so I wanted to start this podcast series with answers to questions that people have been asking me. So I was creating a FAQ video for a while, but I realized the limitations of the duration was a bit of a hindrance. What I mean by that is there were quite a few questions that I cannot answer without a very long video for itself. So rather than trying to edit several videos at once, I realized it might be better to have an audio of it. Makes it easier to answer as well as um, getting it quicker out there. Now, I apologize again, there won't be many edits, um, but hopefully I don't get too long-winded with my answers. Now, the first question I want to answer is by a Deviantart user named A Spooky Stranger. So this is a three-part question. And the first part is, were your works always digital, or did you learn these traditional techniques the old-fashioned way? Now, the story I like to tell people is I started traditional, which is somewhat true. Because in high school and even before then, you're really taught how to use paint. But from a serious art standpoint, I really started getting motivated to learn art through digital media. So I was in a lot of anime forums, admittedly, and I liked the anime style, and I wanted to copy it. So how you do that is just to get a cheap graphic tablet, begging your parents for it, that sort of thing, and just going and trying to create anime artwork and posting on forums and feeling good with a few likes here and there. So, in a way, yes, I did start with traditional techniques, but I actually only got better with art, with digital painting. And this goes into a question that a lot of people ask is like, which is better? And the answer is, from me at least, I feel like you need to learn both. And the reason why is, while digital has nothing wrong with it, you are going to get some bad habits sometimes. And when you get into using Photoshop and Corel Painter and such, there will be filters and there will be overlay layers and all that stuff. It's very tempting to start using those before you really understand the fundamentals. Traditional media, of course, has no way of doing that. So you will develop good habits eventually. Now, it's exponentially more expensive to use traditional techniques. Um, if you're limited on budget, digital painting is always available. Just paying for 100 for bamboo or something, or whatever the model is right now. A big part of my art style is just bringing the traditional techniques back into digital painting. And a lot of people have said my art style is very unique And I find it kind of weird because this is stuff that for hundreds of years with traditional media such as oils, the great masters have done. So in a way, we've disconnected ourselves from our foundation, from the founding artists, the master artists, and we kind of really deviated so much from that that people see traditional work as rare. And I always feel like that can be changed. And of course, people have different opinions on that. And there's nothing wrong with digital again. It's just, I feel like to fulfill and to complete your artist training, you have to be able to understand how real media works. So the second part of the question is, what's your advice for client work and selling prints and art books? Now, I'm going to sound very harsh, but there's a reason why certain styles sell and certain styles don't. In fine arts, if an artist has become very well known for something, for a certain style, nobody else can really do it anymore. And what I mean by that is no matter how well you do something, let's say you have a great abstract style, but it looks too much like Jackson Pollock. People will always associate with you as Jackson Pollock number two. And while that could go far, it really doesn't stand out. So my advice for doing client work and just selling art books and stuff is really just to take a risk with your style. Be honest with yourself. The reason why is there's so many artists posting online nowadays. You have to tell yourself what are the chances that your anime style is gonna be exposed to the world. How many people will compare you with other artists with the same style? When you draw very mainstream styles, such as anime realism or cartoons, you know what I mean, the Tumblr type of thing, you might get a lot of notes. But when it comes to selling it, when it comes to client work, when someone wants to pay you a lot of money for your work, there's a lot of competition now. If you have a unique style, you will stand out and you can charge whatever you really want. And that's really the end game. I always say you want to avoid the $20 commissions or the $5 prints, that type of thing. When you hit that low, just don't bother. It's not going to be enough. You have to realize that there is a problem with how people perceive your artwork. Again, it might be very good, but do people see that? And that's the important part. I hope that doesn't sound too harsh, but a lot of people really look into my art and wonder how I could get away with it. And it looks so different, right? That's not to say I'm completely unique snowflake type of thing. I have a lot of influences such as Ashley Wood, Yoji Shinkawa, and I would assume they do art better than me. I'm still 27 years old, but I only have to compete with those types of people. If I do something more mainstream, then there's so many other artists that I have to compete with, and that becomes very difficult, unless you get a lucky break. Sometimes it actually works better if you take the risk. So the third part of the question is, any info about the big scary art world you would like to share with beginners? The only thing I really need to tell beginners is that you have to understand there are a lot of competition. You might be able to draw certain things very well, but there will be people who are better than you. And that might drive people out of the industry, which is fine. I always say I don't do it because of passion anymore. I do it because I am kind of insane. And what I mean by that is, while I still love doing art, ultimately it takes a lot of effort to drive forward and really motivate yourself sometimes. Because really, art doesn't pay as much as people like. The top end might pay quite a bit, but until then, you're not making that much compared to just an average accountant or something like that. Art is ultimately a job. And if you want to do it professionally, your standards have to raise to the point where you have enough skin to take criticism. People only see the paintings professionals put up on their social media, but they don't really show the the sketches and the amount of work that they dump because it doesn't raise to their standards. You have to be very harsh to yourself, and sometimes the self awareness is a lot of people's bane. Some people just don't have the skin to do the job, and that's completely fine. You can take art to a personal level and just sketch for yourself and your friends and have people tell you that it's very good. But when money starts being involved, your standards have to be there. And that means taking it and being told your art is just not good enough repeatedly. And you tell yourself it's not good enough repeatedly. And you keep working at it and you keep working at it until you get to that point. You can look through any professional's gallery and you'll notice the ridiculous rise in their work in quality. It's a competitive world out there, no matter what style it is. So you gotta use whatever you can to your control and make it so that your work is so good that people cannot say no to you. Again, part of it is style, where you have to have a unique style so that you don't have to compete with so many people out there. But no matter what you choose, there are people out there, and you want to sort of treat it like it's a game and you want to win. The transition between personal to business art is very tough and something that it took me years to really get. That's something beginners really have to understand. Anyways, hopefully I wasn't too long-winded. I understand that I have a little lisp, so if people have trouble understanding, then I can't really help it. But hopefully it was very helpful, and expect more of this stuff in the future. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.